Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Red Playthrough, and today we are going to be continuing on our adventures into the two world wars. But before we start, let me check my Pokemon. Why is it? I'm hitting the wrong button, that's why. So yeah, I need to switch somebody out front. So I want to train somebody up and I'm having issues. Let's switch. Let me hit the right buttons first. Switch with you, because I want to train up my Ekans a little bit. See what he has. So to continue on, sorry, I'm gonna be coughing all day, I think. So to continue on, we're going to talk about one of the major build-ups towards World War II Pokemon. Let's switch to you. Which is the buildup of dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts aren't the first ironclad ships. They're actually the second. The first coming out of the American Civil War. The Merrimack and the Monitor are the two there. But dreadnoughts are going to be on mass production. They're going to be first produced in England in 1906 by the Royal Navy. And then the Germans are going to try and beat them by building more of them. You know what? I don't think I need my notes to talk about this part of it. So what's going on in Europe right now is you have a massive family conflict because the Kaiser of Germany, the King of England, and the Tsar of Russia, they're all related. They're all children of Queen Victoria. They're all grandkids of Queen Victoria. So because of this, World War I and World War II are like this massive, of course, you pop in. Excuse me. I'm going to be coughing for a second. Yeah. So they're like this massive family conflict because all the kings are related in some way, and because of this, a lot of people are going to get involved, and yeah, it's a total mess. And what I kind of find interesting about teaching World War I and World War II is the amount of kids who are like, oh, I didn't know that about it, or that's new information to me. And it's not just because it's new information for a lot of these kids, it's they don't cover it in earlier grades. So when you talk about the two great world wars, they don't have any understanding of the cause of it. There's no link to causality, it just kind of happened and they're like, oh, well, that's interesting, but I don't understand why it happened. And why it honestly happened was, for World War I, you have Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who goes to Serbia, who was recently freed from the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He goes there in kind of a peace mission to kind of make peace with the people and build better ties. Yes, I'm trying to level up you. But when he goes there to build better ties, there's a group of people who are known as the Black Hand who don't want the ties to be better. They kind of want Serbian independence. They don't want any connection to the Austro-Hungarian Empire because they feel like this empire is going to try to take over them and is going to try and diminish their own interior ruling, is the best way to put it. And actually, at first, they miss Franz Ferdinand. They end up shooting one of his bodyguards, and because of that, Franz Ferdinand feels guilty about it. So he wants to go see his bodyguard who's in the hospital. Well, the driver who was driving him didn't know the streets very well, and because of that, he ended up turning down a wrong street, which was a one-way. And because he turned down the one-way, they ran into one of the assassins who ended up shooting and killing both Franz Ferdinand and his pregnant wife, Sophie. And because of this, this will trigger off World War I, which lasts from 1914 to 1918. The actual end of World War I is September 11th at 11:11. So it's 11:11:11:11. And they kind of did this on purpose. But in World War I, one of our closest allies, at least for the US, was actually Japan. But we kind of left them out of the peace conferences because we didn't feel like they needed a place at the table because, well, we're not xenophobic, we're not homophobic, but we are, at this time, severely, what's the best way to put it? Nationalist. We believe that we are the right type of people and everybody else isn't. So because of that fact, Japan really feels left out. They're not very happy at us. They feel like they deserved a bigger piece of the pie. They deserved more of a voice at the table, but we never actually give it to them. And because of that, they will turn on us during World War II, and that's why they become our enemy. Now, the biggest blunder of this time period altogether isn't any of the battles, isn't any of the generals or anything like that. No, the biggest blunder is Woodrow Wilson with his 14 points, because what ends up happening is Woodrow Wilson decides he doesn't want to work with any of the Republican representatives in the U.S. Congress, and because of that, it's not going to be accepted. The Treaty of Versailles, which is what he was working on, won't be accepted by the U.S. because, well, he didn't ask any of them, and because of this, it causes a lot of tension. Woodrow Wilson actually is the first American president born in the South after the Civil War. He also is I think he's the only president to hold a PhD in history as well. He was actually the president of Princeton University. And Wilson also, I hate to break it to a lot of people, Wilson was extremely racist. Wilson actually desegregates the federal government, because it used to be blacks could hold high positions, but after Woodrow Wilson, that got reversed, because before him you had Teddy Roosevelt, who was very progressive in that movement, where he actually believed, shoot, I have to go back and heal now. He actually believed that African Americans could be made equal to whites, and he believed that they deserved a seat at the table, which is why he actually did invite several different African American leaders to the White House for dinners and stuff like that. But what was really shocking is during Woodrow Wilson's time, you have the movie Birth of a Nation come out, which is one of the most racially charged movies of all time. And Woodrow Wilson actually shows it at the White House. He does a private screening of it. And it's crazy to think that we have a president who was so racist against one group of people that he didn't care if it hurt their feelings or offended anybody. He was going to show a movie that he felt showed the true nature of African Americans. And when the African American community started protesting this movie, he pretty much quelled it. He refused to listen to anything. He ignored their complaints and their outcry. He thought D.W. Griffin, who is the one who made the movie, was a miracle worker pretty much. And because of this, there's a lot of tension in America between African Americans and whites. But you have, during World War I, you do have a man by the name of General Blackjack Pershing, who he is the first general who didn't mind leading mixed groups, meaning white and black troops. And the reason why is because Pershing realized that if they could fight as hard as his white troops, they were worth it. And you also have some of the great generals that will come in during World War II, and the great figures, such as Winston Churchill. He was the assistant admiral, vice admiral of the Navy. And his biggest screw up during World War I will, of course, be the Gallipoli campaign, which is where he sends a very large number of troops up this very narrow pass called Gallipoli, and they end up getting totally slaughtered. And with the slaughter, he feels so responsible for this, he actually goes out in the field and serves in the British military for a while. You also have General Patton and General Eisenhower, who were both in their younger days of military service. Patton had just gotten through fighting the war against Pancho Villa in the southwestern United States, and Eisenhower just came into power himself. And what's really crazy about, I love Patton. I have to say Patton is one of my most favorite generals. Sorry, I had to take a drink. But the reason why I love Patton so much is because he's actually also dyslexic, but he hid it very well from people. But what's really cool about Patton is he used to get up and walk in the middle of firing. He didn't care if people shot at him. He was going to do what he could to help out his troops and to rally his troops. And he's also the first person to ever come up with the idea of putting a gun on the back of a pickup, a army vehicle, to chase down horseback riders so they didn't lose them. He was the first to really advocate for what's the word I'm looking for? For armored vehicle use during a war. And he's going to be the first general to really lead that charge. And because of this, he's really remembered for that. He is absolutely an incredible man. He's very complex. He's kind of hard to understand sometimes. But his motivations most of the time are really good. It's never like he did something because he wanted to. He did something because he thought it was the best for his troops. Yeah, we do have stories of Patton cussing out his troops and waving his pistols at Nazi planes flying overhead. But that's just patent. You had to kind of accept that about this man because he was kind of eccentric in his own way. And that's what makes him so cool, is just his eccentricity and like how he chose to lead his troops, because, well, how many generals do we have like that in history? And it's an interesting time period because you have everybody changing. You have this global conflict going on, which proves to the world that everything is now global. It's not just isolationist. You can't just ignore everybody else and just focus on your own country. Everybody has to now work together because, oh, why did I choose Pikachu? I don't know. Because it's static, okay. Well, as I was saying, because of this global conflict, you have this idea that you can no longer, like, continuously say, oh, well, oh, come on. We can ignore everybody else and it's their problem versus ours. Now it's a world problem. Everybody has to come together and work together on trying to get this issue solved. Yes, let's switch to you and then I'll switch to Ivysaur. Now, with this going on, with the global conflict going on, we also start to see a movement towards global economy, which is going to interlock everybody together, which will kind of lead to World War II because of Versailles itself. Versailles was where they signed the treaty to end World War I. Now, here's the major thing you need to know about Versailles. During Versailles, Germany was not allowed to talk, and because of Article 23, I believe it is, they were forced to take full responsibility of the war. They had to say it was their fault, that they caused World War I, and that they were the horrible people who dragged the world into this war. And because of that, they were severely punished. It wasn't even like, oh, well, you caused the war, everything's okay now because the war's over. No, France, Britain, Italy, and many of the other countries started to punish Germany. They started to say, oh, this is all your fault. And because of this, we're going to punish you. We're going to make you pay for the crimes you've committed. And I need to teach somebody Flash. Flash. I don't want to teach Pikachu Flash, though. Let me see if I have another Pokemon that I can teach Flash. Deposit. I'm depositing you. Withdraw. I will check to see if you can learn it. But as I was... No, I didn't want you to do that. As I was saying, though, yes, I can learn it. Because I didn't want to teach Pikachu it. As I was saying, though, with the fact that Germany was forced to accept all these harsh punishments and say, oh yeah, we're responsible for the war, it caused a lot of tension. And this is kind of why Hitler rose to power, because Germany had an economic crash after that fact, and with that crash came a lot of tension between the German people and the Weimar Republic, which is what happened right after, which was formed right after, I should say, World War II, because they had to form a new government. The Kaiser actually fled. He was no longer king of Germany, and because of this, you have a whole new power order come in. And what's really funny and interesting at the same time is Adolf Hitler was actually supposed to be a spy for the German government on the Nazi Party, because Nazis were actually formed before Hitler was even in them. He actually came in as a later member, and because of this, he the reason why he rose to power actually was because everybody said he was a really good speaker, which a lot of people argue that he's not actually a good speaker. Yes. Yes, I'm naming it Edison. Hold on. Let me look up how to spell his name. Maybe helpful. Okay, making sure I spelled it right. Edison. So Hitler rose to power because he was considered a really good speaker, which a lot of people will argue that he actually wasn't, because a lot of people who understand German, they say, oh, he actually doesn't really speak fluent German. he just riled up the crowds because he projected really well and he portrayed himself in that manner where everybody was like really excited by what he was saying, but they really didn't understand what he was saying, which I can kind of understand because I've had enough professors actually say that before. So it's kind of funny to me to hear that. But yeah, I can kind of understand because like it's crazy how one man can make so much noise and create such a massive stir when he's not actually from Germany. Adolf Hitler's actually from Austria. He was rejected by the Austrian military because they said he was too small and he was too weak, and you see him after World War II rise to power. Now, interesting part about this is Hitler could have actually been killed during World War I because there was a British officer who actually did have him in his sights and could have shot and killed Hitler, ending everything that we see during World War II, but the guy chose not to shoot Hitler, and we actually do know his name, and Hitler actually gives him an award during his rise in power as a Nazi, which is kind of interesting and kind of weird at the same time because you're like, oh my god, why did you do this? Why didn't you shoot Hitler? It's kind of hindsight in that effect because the guy didn't know Hitler was going to become this crazy dictator. Hitler actually was just a courier during this time. And he was actually considered extremely brave and crazy because he used to take letters to the front line, nobody else would. And a lot of people thought it was crazy of him to even do that because he was putting himself in danger every time he did it. Let's see. Yeah, not gonna fight. Oh, shoot. No. Yeah. Just wanted to check to see if there's a ball, and then we're going to fight this guy. We're going to start getting through this cave. I may not get through the full cave today, but at least I can get through some of it. With the fact that you have Hitler rise to power, you also have the people around him, because in the early Nazi period, you have a man by the name of Ernst Röhm who runs the SS. The Storm, not to remember their names, and I can't. So Ernst Röhm is a very interesting figure in Nazism because he was actually openly gay. And until the night of Broken Glass, which is where they purged the SA, or the SS, he was considered a very influential figure. Like, he was one of Hitler's closest advisors. Now, because of this, there was another man by the name of Goebbels, Joseph Goebbels, who felt extremely threatened by Röhm because at any point in time he felt like Röhm could turn on him and turn Hitler on him. With that, Goebbels wanted to get rid of Röhm. So even though at first everybody was okay with Röhm being openly gay, that's what they turned the order to kill him into, was because he was gay. So it was kind of like a weird moment in time where at first the Nazis were progressive, they were okay with him being gay, and then no, he's going to be killed because he's gay. Now, what's really funny and kind of interesting is Times actually names Adolf Hitler Man of the Year in 1930, and the reason why is because he actually changes Germany itself because he's able to bring it out of this Great Depression by changing like the factory system. He actually builds the Autobahn. He does a lot of great public works. Now, there's actually very little evidence other than Mein Kampf that Hitler was extremely xenophobic, meaning he hates Jews. But there's several reasons why he could. You see, his mother actually dies of cancer when he was a child, and he was super close to his mom. And the guy who was treating him was actually a Jewish doctor, or treating her. And some people point as that, I'm gonna actually throw up a repel. Some people do point as that. Some people point at that as being the reason why he goes after the Jews, but to be fully honest, Hitler's hate of the Jews could possibly also be just to like excite the people even more, to get them on his side even more, because in European history the Jews are normally blamed for everything. The other thing here is the fact that you have Joseph Goebbels who's in power, and Goebbels hated the Jews for a very stupid reason. And the reason was because he once asked a Jewish woman on a date and she turned him down, and Goebbels took offense to that because he thought he was the hottest man around, and for her to turn him down really made him hate the Jews because, well, you just turned down Joseph Goebbels. God's gift to women, in his opinion. And Joseph Goebbels was actually clubfoot, and he wasn't very attractive, but he was married. He did have 6 kids, and darn it, I was hoping the rappel would last a little bit longer. Run. He did have 6 kids. He did have a wife, but he also thought he was an amazing person. He thought like everybody fell to his feet around him, that he was God's gift to women, that he could do no wrong. So Goebbels, I feel like, is more of the reason why the Jews were targeted, because he really did have a hatred of Jews. Now, Nazi Germany did actually help at some points in time. It was actually good for the German people because it kind of restored their confidence back into their government. And because of that, it did kind of flip. It was a good thing for a short period of time. I'm not going to say Nazi Germany was good for killing off thousands of people or justify any of that, because no, that's horrible, but it is still history. But I will say, if you kind of take out what he did with the craziness, he was an interesting leader compared to Joseph Stalin, who is leader of the Soviet Union. Now, the Soviet Union, the USSR, was formed during World War I when the German government used their secret weapon to knock Russia out of the war, which was to send Vladimir Lenin from Sweden back into Russia. And because of that, he overthrew the Tsar, the Tsarina, and the government, because he really wanted... Oh wait, why did I hit run? I wanted to hit this. He really wanted power. He wanted to change how empires were run, because he really didn't agree with it. And because he didn't agree with it, he took over, killed off the Tsar, and then created his own government, which was communism. Now, when Lenin dies, Stalin will take power after there's a huge power struggle, and Stalin will kill about 20 million of his own people. Most people don't know those figures, but yeah, he killed 20 million of his own people. And because he killed 20 million, he killed more people than Adolf Hitler did. But it was of his own people, so people really kind of ignored that for a very long time, and they kind of accepted it. Because, well, he's killing his own people. We really don't care at that point in time. Oh, I do have careless here. Yay. And I do have potions, so let's potion you up. Wait. So, with Stalin killing 20 million people, you have the Armenian genocide, which happens during World War. Why did it do it there? I have no idea. You do have the Armenian genocide, which is the mass genocide of Christians out of Turkey, which most people don't know about because most governments don't talk about it, because if you talk about it, then you run the risk of pissing off Turkey itself, which we have some major bases in Turkey. Yeah, I'm not going to fight Onyx. And because if you piss off Turkey and you lose the bases, it's not a good thing for us, so we tend to avoid talking about it. But there are some celebrities who have recently started advocating for us to actually talk about it, which does include Kim Kardashian. She did a major post on it last year. Her family, I think her family is Armenian. If you guys know who System of a Down is, they have a great documentary talking about it because they are all Armenian. And what's really scary is Hitler actually does say, who remembers the Armenian genocide? The answer is no one. So who will remember what I'm about to do, or something like that? So it's kind of crazy because once you forget something like that, it can happen again and again and again and again, which is really scary. And I think if you guys want me to, I will talk about the Armenian genocide next week on an episode on my Reddit playthrough. Because I think I'm going to finish it up soon. I want to get through this cave. So I at least want to get to the next city, and I want to at least get through some of this, because I want to at least start putting this out more consistently, because I feel like this will help my channel instead of me like randomly putting shit out. Oh shoot. Did not mean to fight with you. Come on. Yay. Excuse me. I'm just gonna kill all 3 of these because it's gonna be faster. Sure. Pokeball. So what I was saying about the Armenian genocide is next week, if you guys want me to talk about it, please leave a comment down below. It's a really interesting topic. I've made a full activity about it before in my class, where on the anniversary of the Armenian genocide, I literally showed them a clip from System of a Down's documentary, which is called Screamers. It's free on YouTube, and it's a really good documentary in that way, where it kind of talks about like everything that happened. They still have the grandparents who actually lived through the Armenian genocide, and last year I had a student who did history fair on it, and he was like coming in every day and he's telling me all these facts on it because he was absolutely shocked that we don't teach this, and he was kind of appalled, and he was really hurt because he's like, how do we not teach this when we teach all these other subjects about all these other evil people, but we don't talk about this because we are allies with them, but that doesn't make it right, doesn't make it okay. And I'm very proud of him for all the research he did on that topic, because he actually did spend a lot of time researching it. He went really into depth on it, and I don't know if he actually ever watches my videos, but if he does, you know who you are. I am still so proud of you. You are probably got one of the greatest history fair projects, and I'm still proud of you. Even though it was last year, I'm still extremely proud of you, and I hope you do know that. Yay, Jigglypuff got paralyzed. Thunder. Crit. That crit mattered. But with the Armenian genocide, you kind of have to remember this is when you have the Ottoman Empire, which was Turkey, falling, and then you have the Young Turks coming in, and with the Young Turks, you have the rise of this huge movement where everybody has to be Islam. And that doesn't last very long. Double intimidate. Let's bite. Yay, you finished one off, Booth. No, I don't want you to learn Glare. See if you can actually take on something. No, let's switch out. I don't want to lose Booth right now because I'm almost through the cave and... Oops. Oh well. Still works. Fight, quick attack. Yay, that works. Yeah, and it's an interesting topic for me to talk about. Potion up you. I wish I had another repel. Run. Sorry, awkward pause. I was just thinking about what else I could talk about. But with this, you also kind of see the formation of these new world orders. And I'm not talking about like the crazy conspiracy theory of the New World Order where the world's controlled by a certain group of people. I'm talking about the rise of power within Washington and London and Paris and Rome. And you start to see like people like Benito Mussolini. He was actually a sniper for the Italian army, but before that he was actually a kindergarten teacher, which is really strange. Like if you look at the professions of some of the world dictators, they get really, really strange, because Benito Mussolini, he was a kindergarten teacher. Adolf Hitler was a painter. Stalin, I think if I remember correctly, he was a factory worker. Then you have Pol Pot, who was also, he was a history teacher, high school history teacher in Cambodia. So it's like none of these guys really you think would be like these crazy dictators, but they were. So it's really kind of crazy where dictators come from. But I have to say though, it's really funny to think about the fact that Hitler was actually a vegan painter. Like he couldn't stand hurting animals and he fainted at the sight of blood, which is probably kind of even more ironic because of what he did. So yeah, I mean, come on, think about it that way. Like one of the most evil men in history couldn't stand the sight of blood and used to faint at it. So why then did he kill millions of people? That's an honestly good question that nobody can really answer. Oh, we both wrapped each other. Bite. I'll switch out after she switches. Oh no! Pikachu, wake up! Darn it, I hate when I'm asleep. No, it fainted my Pikachu. Darn it. Okay, whatever. Pidgey, quick attack. No! Wake up! Wake up, wake up, wake up. Thank you. Let me see something. You know what? Yay, it evolved! Yes, we have an Arbok now. Oh wait, I also have a revive. Which kind of helps. Oh my god, how many Pokemon does she have? Booth. Bite! Yes. But going back, yeah, I could also talk about the Civil War next time if you guys want me to talk about it. I love Civil War. It's one of my favorite time periods to talk about, and it's one I know a lot about. I was actually the Civil War liaison for the Florida History Museum. Let's see, who do I want to send in against you? And because of that, I know a lot about Civil War. I know about, like, the different conflicts, the sub-conflicts, like Lincoln versus habeas corpus, which is habeas corpus in the best sense of it is it's the right to a speedy trial, so you don't have to like wait for months and be held without knowing why you're being held. Lincoln is the only president to ever suspend habeas corpus, and he suspended it because there was a fear that a lot of people in like border states like Maryland and Missouri were actually using habeas corpus to get away with helping the South. And because of that, a lot of people felt like they needed to be held without bond. And that did happen a few times. Oh, I'm hoping I'm faster than Flip. Oh well. And with that, you have him fighting the head of the Supreme Court, which was, I forgot his name. I'll remember later, watch. I'll be like, shoot, that's his name. Oh god, what is his name? Oh, come on. At least you have Vital Spirit. Knocks you out. Oh yeah, I'm at the end of the cave. Did not mean to do that. Well, Flip. That wasn't good. No. So guys, I'm gonna end it here. If you guys like this, please leave a like. And also, yeah, I'll save it afterwards. And also share this video with a friend. Give me some ideas of topics you'd like me to talk about in history, whether it be Civil War or continuing on World War II, a person, an event, whatever you guys want. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye guys.